Oh, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Bits and Bites. All things consumable from all the places you want to be. That's what it says, right? Great. Brusting off the dust of the old studio here, but you know what it is. Week by week, we're hitting every state. That's right. It's Bits and Bites, United States edition, baby. Week by week, state by state, letter by letter, starting at the top with the A's and ending with the Z's. We do 50 states in 50 weeks. This week is week 28. Week 28 could only mean one thing. Week 28 could only mean one thing in one state, a big, bold state. And that state, everyone knows, everyone loves. That state's the great state of Nevada. Yeah, Nevada! It's here! Nevada, your time has come. Nevada, the desert state. It's not called that, but look at the flag. We have the flag here as always. Welcome, everyone, to Bits and Bites, week 28. We're with the great state of Nevada today. Per usual, we have the flag. It's very blue, and it has a very strange little icon in the top corner there that says BOURBON, Nevada. And according to what I'm reading here, it's a cobalt blue field, which we can see, with a variant of the state's emblem in the upper left hand. Very silver star, because it is a silver state, as we'll learn. But BOURBON, apparently it's something to do with one of the state's mottos. Who knew? Who knew that the state was all about being battle-born? Wow. Nevada, it's time to come and talk all things Nevada. Let's get into the fast facts per usual. We'll start off with that. Let's bring it right up. Hit that weird music. We'll brush off the dust, you know? There it is. Fast facts, nicknamed the Silver State. Statehood in 1864. 36th state of the union. Population as of July 2015, just about 3 million. The capital is Carson City. The biggest city is Las Vegas, and the abbreviation is NV. Ah, yes, the state bird and the state flower. Let's see the bird. The old mountain bluebird. There she is. Look at that mountain bluebird. What a lovely bird it is. I mean, it's blue. It looks small from what I can tell, from what I can gather. All right. And the state flower is the sagebrush. Sagebrush. All right, this looks like an iconic, this looks like what I would think of when we're burying bodies in the desert. Yeah, that's pretty desert body burying flower-like, I'd say. No? Would we agree? I'd say so. That looks like Joe Pesci would be buried back there somewhere. Anyway, all right, guys, here we are. It's Big Bad Nevada time. Bits and Bites. We're talking about the food. We're talking about the drink. We're going to get into that a little bit. It's hot as shit in the studio, just like the desert of Nevada, so how fitting. I figured I would put on my best, pit boss attire to match with that. It was either that or a full fear and loathing mode, and I didn't know if anyone would get that, so I just went with this. This seemed right. This just felt right. We're at Zoom mode. I got shorts in the waist down, but you can't see. It's fine. We're sweltering in here. Deal with it. It's week 28. Do the math. What month is it? It's July. It's hot. All right. Forget how to do this show. It's been so long. Good Lord. Nevada. When we think about Nevada, what do we think about? Let's pull up the map. There's only one thing we think about when we think about Nevada. Let's be honest. It's Las Vegas. Nevada is a state in the western region of the United States. It's bordered by Oregon to the northwest, Idaho to the northeast, California to the west, Arizona to the southeast, and Utah to the east. Nevada is the 7th most extensive, the 19th least populous, and the 9th least densely populated of the U.S. of the states. Well, there it is. That runs it through. So, again, when you think about Nevada, I think number one, everyone thinks about Las Vegas. I think that is not up for debate. You think Nevada, you think Las Vegas. And the rest of the state just kind of looks like a big ashtray. But who knows? I'll know who knows. We have a special guest, Claire White, at Nevada Claire on Instagram. She's going to be joining us a little bit later. to talk all things Nevada. So I'm sure we'll chat a little bit about Las Vegas, but I'm trying to learn about the rest of Nevada. Tell me more about Nevada. I've been to Reno. I've been to Carson City, which is very close to Reno. Let's see. Right? We got Reno and Carson City over here, buffering California. If I remember, we were road tripping out there. We played some shows. I want to say Carson City, then we hopped right over into the Tahoe zone or something. I don't know. Holy shit, you know what? This reminds me, you can't make this shit up. My phone just reminded me that 3 years ago, was it the 15th? I don't want to date these episodes, but I think this is important. Wow. Where'd you go? I know this is not good content, but this is impressive if this is true. No, see, it did it again. It did it again. It is the 15th. July 15th. This day, I was in Carson City 3 years ago. You can't make this up. I'm trying to see if I can find the pictures. Well, it's kind of useless because I don't think I can pull them up here anyway. Man, yeah, I had pictures. Where are all these pictures? Whatever. It's irrelevant. I gotta look later and be pissed about it. It's fine. Anyway, Carson City, that's so strange. Talking about Reno and Carson City, and I was literally there 3 years ago today. My phone just told me about that before. Wow, weird. Great little taco shop out there. Anyway, Reno, Carson City. We know that. Reno's like little mini wannabe Las Vegas. And then there's a lot of Indian reserves in the middle, I think. I'm not sure. Look at all these towns. Duckwater, Eureka. We got this road I-80 up here. It looks like there's some roads going on. I don't know what's up there. I feel like when we drove in through there, it was very barren. I feel like we lost a tire somewhere, but that's here nor there. Las Vegas, everybody knows. This is the capital of the desert. You can see it from outer space. It's big time out there. Sin City. 1947, Bugsy Siegel said Americans need a place to blow off all of the 7 sins. Hence, Las Vegas was born. The Boulder Dam, Hoover Dam, Tahoe and Reno. Named after the Sierra Nevadas. Come back. Named after the Sierra Nevadas. It's the Silver State, apparently the largest gold producer in the United States. They found the largest silver deposit in the world there, apparently. 7th largest state. And, of course, Area 51. Great. So, like, again, for every show, you know, we try to talk about the food and the drink of the show, right? Drink I found. Found the drink. We could talk about the drink. We'll get to that. Food is very difficult. Nevada's not really a big producing state. I'm sure they got some farms out there. I'm sure someone's making something, all right? I just don't know who it is or what. I don't know who or what is doing it out there. I couldn't find it. So I found something that was like iconic to Nevada and something that seems to be all throughout Nevada. And it's the lovely shrimp cocktail. That's right, everyone, the shrimp cocktail. Everyone knows it and loves it. Cocktail shrimp. I figured I'd have this here as just a prop. It's the best thing I could find. It's either that or set up a buffet and just gorge myself all day like a Midwestern American that you see walking around Las Vegas. But is Nevada all buffets and just shrimp cocktails? I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. But I couldn't find any Nevada-made products. Hopefully, maybe our guest has some ideas. Who could say? If not, we'll just start calling some places. Who knows what'll happen today? But yeah, I mean, shrimp cocktails ubiquitous all throughout every place in Las Vegas, let alone Reno, and all the restaurants in between, which I mean, I guess that's really not so many because it's a really weird state that's kind of empty in between. Big ashtray. If you love the desert, you'll love Nevada. But I did find some bourbon that's being produced there. And by produced there, I mean they're purchasing it from Indiana and bringing it in. So we could chat about this for a little bit. Smoke Wagon Small Batch. The old Smoke Wagon Small Batch. Let's see what the bourbon's about. And I mean, it'd be rude to not try it. Hi, bourbon enthusiast. Yes, I think I tried to get these people to join the show. They got at me late last night. Of course, we're last minute on everything here, so I'm positive they didn't get back to me, but let's take a look. Yeah, no, of course not. It's fine. This is what happens when you run last minute on everything. What's this ad down here? Get out of here. What was that? What are these ads? They got ads on their on their scroll. Anyway, breaking bourbon? No, this isn't it. This is not. This is some kind of review. Get out of here. We got hijacked. Our website got hijacked. What's the name of this company? Smoke Wagon Small Batch. Pretty dope bottle, I will say that. Smoke Wagon Distilling we want. I think they had two Nevada Distilling. Here we go. Yes, this is the website. Nevada H&C Distilling, Las Vegas, Nevada. Surprised I never saw this place. I've been to Las Vegas many times, so I could talk about Las Vegas a lot. But that's not really what, you know, I mean, we can talk about that. I guess we should. It is Nevada's show. Las Vegas is a great, strange place where, you know, you could eat, drink 24/7. There it is. You can eat and drink your way around the city 24/7 and fulfill all the 7 vices to your face. Greed, gluttony, lust, envy, pride, sloth, wrath. They're all there. Every one of them. Come on, what's the packaging on this? All right, so tell me a little bit about this. I was hoping that this was going to be made, you know, in Nevada with Nevada grains and stuff, but per usual, we know that's not the case. We've learned that by now that most states are not doing that. Some, not all. Smoke Wagon Bourbon and Silver Dollar Vodka, located in the heart of downtown Las Vegas. Well, not gonna lie, that doesn't give me a lot of hope that it's gonna be great. But this did have an interesting story behind it that I looked into, so let's see what it's about. They did have 2 products when I looked. Looks like they have more than that from the website. Smoke Wagon. They have Smoke Wagon Straight Bourbon, and then they have Smoke Wagon Small Batch Bourbon, which is the one that we have. Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered, which I got that. Smoke Wagon Private Barrel. All right, so we got 4 versions, but let's get the one that we have. Apparently has the most awards, whatever that means. So let's go with it. There it is, Smoke Wagon Small Batch Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Nice julep cup there. Our high rye content. Well, let's pour it and smell it first. So the one thing I do know about this is it is a high rye content bourbon, 100 proof. Nice bold number on that. High rye content bourbon, aged in the heart of century-old brick warehouse. Barrels are hand-selected to create a perfect blend that is smooth, delicate, and at the same time, bold and intense. This unique complexity is achieved by combining multiple vintages of the same mash bill. So, like we talked about in other episodes, or whenever I talked about it to someone, oh, it smells good. We discussed how they purchase a lot of these from a large Indiana creator, MGP, and then these companies are, you know, you could go essentially buy 5 barrels, blend them yourself, and call yourself a little distillery. That's probably what they're doing here. I don't think they're distilling much in their own, but let's see what their verbiage suggests. Ensure unique and consistent flavor. Barrels are hand selected to create a perfect blend that is smooth and at the same time bold and intense. So they're telling you. We select the bottles and then blend them ourselves. Nothing wrong with that. That's what a lot of places do. Released in 2016, our goal is to create a unique and great tasting high rye content bourbon. I personally prefer a high rye content bourbon. This should be good. The problem is that rye ages much faster than corn. Who knew? So while younger vintages had a big rye spice, flavor, which we love, the mouthfeel was too thin and it lacked the sweet, delicate complexity of a well-aged spirit. Our older vintages had the smoothness and sweet notes that can only be achieved by moving in and out of number 4 char and caramelized oak for many, many years. But the nice rye spice had been aged out. All right, what are we doing? This is a boring story. So what to do? Find the perfect blend. We combine 2. The younger vintages maintain the bold spiciness of the rye, cut down on the tannins, and keep the fruit forward. The older vintages bring in a creamy mouthfeel with sweet aromas and taste notes that only appear over time from aging in the barrel. Oh my God, our guest is joining. Hey, it's Claire.
Hi.
Claire, 1 second. Let me pull you in here. Also, good timing. I was just reading about this booze. Hold on, this music's too loud.
Oh, good.
There you are, Claire White. Thank you for joining. Claire, please introduce yourself. And hi, we haven't even met yet, so hi. Nice to talk to you.
Hi. It's nice to meet you.
Yes.
So I'm Claire White, and I am a Las Vegas local, lover of Nevada, public historian, and just Nevada enthusiast.
Public historian. That's amazing.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
So I work in the museum industry, but I
nice.
also write and speak on topics related to history to the general public. So it's, like not being a stodgy professor.
You seem like the perfect person to talk to about this. So thanks for joining.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm just trying to make it so I have just you on the screen and not me, because no one needs to see. Stupid me. We can get me out of here. Google Meet changed their thing, so I'm trying to hey, there we go. I think that's better. Yeah, that's a lot better. Cool. Hey, so, all right, so you could see me, you could hear me and all that? Sounds good?
Yes.
All right, cool. So great. So I was just talking about Nevada, and like I said, you sound like the perfect person to talk to because you clearly are passionate about Nevada, so that's super cool. So thanks for joining. So people think of Nevada, they think of Las Vegas, obviously, right? That's the first thing everyone I know when I tell them to do Nevada, like, oh, Las Vegas, Las Vegas, Las Vegas. So let's just start with a little bit, I guess, of the geography of Nevada, and I'm looking at it, we got Las Vegas in the south, and again, second to Las Vegas, I think the only thing people kind of would shoot from the hip and say is Reno, I think. So what else is there going on? And I'll put it this way, and I'll stop rambling. When I ask people about their state, I say I'm from New Jersey, right? There's North Jersey, Central Jersey, South Jersey, which I could kind of say North Jersey's a little closer to New York, so it's kind of got New York vibes, it's like busy. Central Jersey's got some beach towns, so it's a little bit, different, a little blend of the North and the South. And South Jersey has got some Philly vibes and Cape May kind of things going on. So it's three different areas, right, that I would distinctly break up New Jersey into. Can you do that in Nevada? Would you break it up in a certain kind of way?
So first of all, and I know this is really tough and does not sound pleasant to many people in many parts of the country, but it's Nevada.
Nevada. Okay, so
it is Nevada.
Let's step back. Right, I'm saying Nevada. It's Nevada.
Yeah.
So
many a presidential candidate has really screwed their chances by calling us Nevada instead of Nevada.
I didn't realize that. Is that something that Nevada? Oh, I'm going to say it wrong because all I say is Nevada.
It's okay. I've lived in other parts of the country and had to suffer through the mispronunciation. But Nevadans, we do take it very seriously.
Oh, so how do you say it again for me? Nevada. All right. So the A is a long A of sorts.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And it comes from a Spanish word for snow-capped mountains. And so if you're pronouncing it the Spanish way, it would be Nevada.
So that makes sense.
That's not how we pronounce it. So
Nevada.
Yes.
All right, Nevada. That's so much conditioning in my brain that needs to happen to change that. Nevada. I'm looking at the word right now just to see if I could Nevada. All right, I'm going to work on that. I'm going to say it wrong, but I'm going to try my best. So
That's okay. That will be the only time I correct you, but I just wanted to get that out there.
Say it again. Sorry, say it again.
Nevada.
So it's the A. Nevada. It's the one A that needs to be.
It's just the A.
Popped. Mm-hmm. Nevada. All right.
Yeah.
Because I keep wanting. Now I'm thinking of every letter. I'm like Nevada. No, it's Nevada. Nevada. Nevada.
You're getting there.
All right.
Exactly.
We're learning. So
back to the question.
Yeah. So like regions or breakout. How would you break up the state? I'm looking at a map
regions.
too, so I'm trying to follow along on a map.
Yeah, there's definitely regions. So Las Vegas, which, as you said, is definitely what most non-Nevadans and non-Westerners would think of, is southern Nevada.
Sure.
And besides Las Vegas, the metro area of Las Vegas has a couple of other cities: Henderson, North Las Vegas, Boulder City, and then farther along the Colorado River, Laughlin is sort of the other city in southern Nevada.
Okay.
Pahrump too. Pahrump's in a different county than us, but Pahrump is another southern Nevada area. And then just north of that would be sort of central Nevada.
Okay.
And that shares probably that is definitely the ruralist area. That is the area where you're not really going to find a single community with more than 5,000 people for the most part.
Is this kind of where like what I'm looking at, like Route 6 kind of runs through?
Yes.
Is that kind of zone? All right, cool. So this whole
Nevada.
kind of middle area here. All right, cool.
And they share a lot of cultural characteristics, at least on the eastern side of sort of central Nevada, shares a lot of characteristics with Utah.
All right.
A lot more Mormons in the area. And we're actually a pretty heavily Mormon state, which people are often shocked to find out. But even in Las Vegas, we do have a lot of Mormons.
I didn't think that. Interesting.
Yeah. And then north of that would sort of be the northeastern region. which also has a lot of relationships sort of with Utah and Idaho. But their major city is Elko.
Okay.
And that's a big mining area. There's a gold mine and a lot of other mines up in that region. That's also sort of cowboy country. So you see a lot of wild horses as well as a lot of cowboys riding horses if you're in the Northeast. And then to the west of that would that's sort of the Reno area. And Southern Nevadans call it Northern Nevada. I guess that's the appropriate term.
I mean, that's what people in New Jersey do that too. It's like some people in South Jersey say there is no Central Jersey. North Jersey's like, anything south of the bridge. Everyone's always, pointing at each other and saying you're not south or north enough. I think
exactly.
That's a statement
that's definitely the Reno area. That's also where our capital is, Carson City, and that's also Lake Tahoe. So I mean, even if you're not as familiar with the Reno Carson sort of area, I mean, everyone knows Lake Tahoe.
Right. Yeah, I think I was saying at the beginning of the show, I was trying to remember. It is actually just so happens, my phone reminded me that 3 years ago to the day, I was in Carson City, which is very surprising. I didn't even think about this. I was in Carson City. I was doing a show there with a band, and then we went to Tahoe for the day, and I was looking at pictures of it, or we went to some like village outside of Tahoe or something like that. I don't know. It was really cool, and I was like, wow, how strange. Literally 3 years ago to the day, I was looking at the pictures on my phone. Very funny.
That's great. What a crazy coincidence.
I know, right? And I did like it out there. I thought it was really cool. Like Carson City, I think, is where we played. I think we drove through Reno, but Carson City is where we played. Really cool vibe, really cool little city, and it wasn't too far from... I don't know, we crossed into California, I guess, for a second. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're so close.
Carson is a great area. I mean, as a Southern Nevadan, I really have to downplay that I love the rest of the state. There's definitely rivalries there.
You're based down by Las Vegas or somewhere in the south over there?
Yes.
Cool.
Right. Yeah. I live in Las Vegas now.
Cool. And there's more to Las Vegas than just what people think, right? Because I know a lot of people who live out in Las Vegas, and they're just like, oh, you live in Las Vegas. And then everyone assumes that you just live in the Bellagio or something. And it's like, no, there's cities, there's actually towns and like really good like neighborhoods and communities and school systems and stuff that I've actually heard out there, right? Am I right in saying that?
Yes. Yeah. So one of the sort of suburbs, but it is its own city, Henderson, regularly gets awards for being one of the most livable communities in the United States, and that's actually where I grew up, was in Henderson, so I love to rep Henderson. Nice. But in Las Vegas, I've found that in the last, I wasn't born in Nevada, but I've lived since I was a child, and I've found that in the last 30 years that there's definitely been this dramatic increase in understanding. It's not as common that people ask me what hotel I live in or what hotel I work in or what hotel my parents worked in. But it is definitely still a misconception. And a lot of that is the rapid growth. Las Vegas, has just grown hand over fist over since the 60s and 70s. And even from the time I was a kid, Nevada has almost tripled in size. Or Las Vegas, I should say.
I mean, it's massive. I don't obviously remember from the 60s. I wasn't there, but even the couple times that I've been, maybe every year for a while, or stop in once a year. And it grows. The city is just constantly growing. It's constantly under construction.
Yes.
Different areas are always under construction, and they're building up just like big cities, just like New York, and then they're building out. Every time I go, someone's telling me you got to go out here, and I'm looking at my map, and it's used to be everything on the strip, and now it's the area of interest is widening. Which is a good thing, I guess. That's good for all the businesses down there, I suppose.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We welcome the growth. There are some, there's certainly some challenges. There are definitely times that it takes me triple the amount of time it used to take me to get somewhere that drives me insane, but that's everywhere.
Yeah, that's any kind of populated city.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's much better there than LA or something. So take it while you can get it.
Exactly.
All right. So we've broken out the South, the Central, the North. So let's talk a little bit about the food and the drink of Nevada. Like I said, so for every state, I try to find some kind of iconic food. Some states are easier than others that would represent the state or something like that. And I could not find for the life of me anything that really represented Nevada. I'm sure there's someone out there making something. I'm sure there's a Nevada-based potato chip maker. Usually that's like the last thing. Every state where you can't find something, I could find some guy making chips, you know, and it works. But I couldn't even find that. I found a coffee roaster. I couldn't get the coffee here in time. So I just grabbed some shrimp cocktail that was frozen because that just seemed ubiquitous to something that you can get anywhere in Nevada and Las Vegas. They just love buffets and shrimp cocktail. So it's a silly thing. But what kind of food? I mean, obviously, Nevada is a very, culturally mixed area, I would say. So what's the food scene like, I guess, outside in Nevada? Is there any kind of iconic food that you would think that should have been grabbed, that as someone who loves Nevada, you would say?
So I would say to me, if I think of something that Nevada has that Nevada does better than other places, it's actually something that we don't have any of in Southern Nevada. But Basque food. We have a huge Basque population because of our ranching and because historically we had a lot of sheep herd management here. We're a good Nevada. I mean, you know, it's not like we don't have the beef industry that parts of the Midwest have, or Texas,
right.
But we have good ranch land. We have good ranch land for cattle as well as sheep. And so that brought a lot of Basque people. And so up north, pretty much in every place you can go in Nevada other than Southern Nevada, there's always a local Basque restaurant.
Wow.
And I mean, like the lamb, that's remarkable. There's not a ton of places in the United States that I've been that count lamb among one of the things that they produce, or produce well, I should say. And I love Basque. What I love about Basque food is it's an experience. And I think more than anything, to me, that's what I think of when I think of Nevada eating, and what sort of sets us apart is we love a good experience. And I think tourists, when they hear that, they think of like going to fancy celebrity chef restaurants. But
sure.
Even in more rural areas, or more, like hometown, small town kind of places, we strive for the experience. And so a lot of Basque restaurants are family style. You go, you share these sides, not just with your own party, but sometimes with whole groups of people. It's kind of been cut down, obviously, with COVID recently. But Basque food is totally our specialty. And then the shrimp cocktail is, to me, the ubiquitous,
right?
Las Vegas
right?
thing.
It really is. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. I was like, I gotta get something. I can't just show up empty-handed. I was like, well, this is still
definitely true.
Yeah, it's
you
like
picked right.
It's literally everywhere. I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a demo of how to like make a really good shrimp cocktail. I was like, no, that you should have buffet frozen, nonsense, trash shrimp cocktails. It's everywhere, But Basque, it's really interesting. I feel like, I want to say in the Idaho show we did, someone was telling us that there was a big Basque population there too, which probably bumps up to Nevada.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes
the
sense.
Same sort of region,
Interesting. I mean, I love the Basque food is really great. They got great wines and food and stuff. That's cool. Interesting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You would never think that if you just went to Reno and Las Vegas. You would never think, Basque food, because I'm sure there's no Basque representation there that I could think of. Hilarious.
So there is a Basque restaurant in Reno, and actually there's one in Carson. But like I said, not Southern Nevada. They don't make it this far down. This
Sure.
is not an ideal place for sheep
No.
raising.
Are there any great ones that you could think of off the top? I'll pull it up just to take a look. What's your favorite place, if you can remember?
The Star Hotel in Elko is probably my go-to.
Nice. Elko Star Hotel, boom, got it. See, I need to know this the next time I go out there. Because every time I go to Las Vegas, it's like, yeah, all right, we get this trip. Let's keep going. Like, where else are we going? So we burn a lot of time in, was it Frank's Tiki Bar last time or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's a great one.
The place is dangerous. No windows.
It is dangerous.
Dangerous place.
It's it's the same mentality as the casinos.
Yeah.
That's we make it so that you have no idea what time of day or night it is.
I just wasn't expecting
That's
that.
Las Vegas.
And Vegas is just, again, we're back to Vegas. It's like, it's just it's a strange place. It's like built to be a trap. The casinos, no windows, no time, pump the oxygen in. If they do that, I don't even know. But they love keeping you in there. The tourists love it though. But how to that point, before we get back to the food, how has it been, like, tourist-wise out there since COVID, now that we're actually talking about Las Vegas?
So, Las Vegas was clearly hit harder than almost any other place in terms of our industry.
The hospitality
and certainly Nevada in general, that's a large percentage of the state's funding and budget, even though it's not a part of the whole state, even though there obviously are other industries and other things going on in the other regions. But the Strip was completely closed, and essentially everything related to the tourist industry was completely closed from March to June of last year. And it's been slow, but I mean, I have to be honest, it's looks fine now. I work downtown. I see, I work like in the Fremont Street area,
right.
And it's back to normal.
Yeah, I saw. I was watching one of the UFCs last week, and they were showing clips of the Strip and all that stuff, and I was like, "Wow, that looks like they're back." I mean, the arena was packed, and streets were packed, and I don't know if the casinos are still doing the weird walls and everything you got to have, which you got to do what you got to do, but.
Yeah, so it's
people
kind
being
of
back
hit
is
or
good.
miss.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's sort of one of those things that the market has sort of balanced out. There are the Gaming Commission essentially controls safety precautions in the casino separate from county entity. Like the Gaming Commission is more powerful
right.
than the county level.
Of course.
And so they've essentially said, it's up to each casino to
do
decide
whatever
what they want
right.
to do. Yeah, and there are a few casinos that do have some barriers up, but I think it's more because they think for whatever reason that their clientele wants or needs it.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's kind of how it should be, right? Like if the
exactly.
if you want to go to the safe one with the plexis, go for it. If you don't, go for it. That's a very Las Vegas attitude. I think just do whatever
for sure.
Do what you want.
And it's a very Nevada attitude.
Yeah.
We're very, live and let live, do what you want. We have a lot of very libertarian streaks to us.
I'd say so, yes. So again, we got Las Vegas and Reno, like kind of mini Las Vegas almost, right? Some people say. Although it's
they would hate that, but I'm fine with it.
I mean, in the sense that it has a lot of, I think, a concentration of casinos. But what from what I remember is throughout Nevada, there's casinos like everywhere, like even on these small roads in between. Because I think when we drove in on the north side, and there was just casinos all over. Like littering the highway, like these little one-off ones. And I think we stayed in one, and it was a weird scene, but it was great to see. I was like, this is part of the culture out here. Like casino culture is a thing. It's weird.
Oh yeah.
It's not just the tourists down at the Luxor. It's I guess the guys in the neighborhood that just go hang out instead of the local bar over here. They're going to the local casino and just chilling.
Yeah, and it goes back so far. Gambling has been legal statewide since 1931. During the Great Depression, we passed what's called the Wide Open Gambling Bill to sort of jumpstart the economy. And right now, I know there are a couple of cities and towns around the state that ban gambling. So like here in Southern Nevada, Boulder City doesn't allow casinos within their city limits, but you just drive
go right out
400 feet out and there you are. And Lincoln County, which is like just to the north of where Las Vegas is, so sort of right on that Utah border. I'm pretty sure the whole county doesn't allow gambling, but other than that, you can find them anywhere. You find them in the grocery stores. You find the slot machines in grocery stores, in convenience stores. And then, it's always remarkable when you go to these smaller towns and go into a casino and you're like, oh my God, there's like 4,000 people who live here and you still have 2 blackjack tables.
It's
like
crazy.
How do you sustain this?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I forget where we were. I could look it up. I forget where we were, but we were north, way outside, I think on 6 somewhere on that road. And I remember we stayed in this casino, middle of nowhere. I was looking around. I was like, this is like really, this feels like what old Las Vegas probably felt like, where there's like nothing kind of around. We're in a dusty, weird vibe. And we went in. It was really late. We got drinks at the bar. We're like looking around, people playing slots. And they had like a full suite of table games. And I was like, how many people are coming up here to sustain this? This seems crazy. But, I mean, that's part, I like that. I think that's a cool culture to have. And I think it's cool. And again, it goes back to like a very libertarian sense. Some counties outside, if you got Las Vegas there, if you're the county, it's like, no, look, you go there for gambling. We're shutting it off here. No gambling here. You can freaking gamble in the airport. I remember when I flew in, you get out. Yeah. As soon as you get out with your bag, there's slots beckoning, right at you. I don't even like slots, but I was like, we got to put a bucket. We got to see what we're doing here. What are you doing? Yeah, so Nevada is crazy in that sense, which I like. So if before we get into, I guess, what other kind of food stuff? We said the Basque stuff, which is great, but is there any kind of producers of food? Like, is there, I guess my question is going to be coffee. I thought I could get some, like, coffee. Do you have a lot of, like, coffee roasters and, like, breweries and stuff like that? I know Vegas, I'm sure, has, well, this distillery is there, but is it a big scene out there like other states?
So our craft brewery scene is great, and not just in Las Vegas, but all across the state. In fact, some of my favorite ones are not in Las Vegas.
What have we got? Which ones?
I have to admit that I don't think that we have any coffee. I'm going to feel terrible when there is some coffee that is like famous in Reno or Carson. And
the only one I've heard of was, I think, but before I say it, I want to make sure this is it. I want to say it was Verve, but maybe it's not. Maybe Verve is not from, nope, that's California. Never mind.
That doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, I got nothing. I felt like I saw one. I forget. Vesta. That's it. Vesta.
Oh,
Vesta,
you know what? Yes.
Is a coffee roaster. I don't know if it's great, but that is they're Vegas based at least, you know.
That's true. Yes. It's interesting because I've been to their coffee shop a couple times. In the arts district in downtown Vegas, but there really is some things that it's wild. You know, there's just so much to do that you sort of sometimes miss those things.
Oh my God.
Breweries I can definitely talk about.
Breweries. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Vesta Coffee Roasters. This is the one I went to. I forgot I was here. I went to this place. There's a brewery over here, right? And wait, that store that sells casino. I'm sorry, I'm like talking to you like you were there on the trip. There's Craft House Brewery's there, and then there's that store that sells like casino merch is over there.
Gambler's Paradise.
Yes, that's where we went. Gambler's Paradise. We did like a walk over there, and there's a fantastic natural wine bar right over by Vesta.
Yes, yeah.
Shit, it's got a weird name. Something with like a G.
Garage East.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's hilarious. I knew Vesta sounded familiar. Yes, me and Matt. Shout out Matt Venture. Shout out Play Architect. We were there. We did a tear in that corner of town. Very cool area over there.
It is.
That's a very cool
that
zone.
That area has it's had a complete renaissance. It's awesome over there. It's great.
Yeah,
I went to high school not that far from there, and like that was a horrifying place.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, there's got to be pockets of like really horrifying places outside of any kind of casino area brings that, right?
Any place, and it's interesting because Las Vegas is obviously not some huge city. I mean, we're less than 3 million people in the metro area, but we have some of the characteristics of a much larger urban city just because of the transients and there's definitely some seedy.
Yeah, I mean that just comes with any casino. It's like playing SimCity. Like once you start popping the casinos up, the crime element goes up in the side areas, and then you rezone the district to say no gambling over here. So it's just like playing SimCity. That's how I equate every state when I'm breaking it out. I always say this is just like SimCity. SimCity was more accurate than I thought when I was a kid. Wow, that's great. That's funny. Vesta Coffee. I don't believe I was there. That's so funny. I would have said something about that. They were great though. So that's the arts district, right? I do remember that.
Yes. That is the arts district.
Definitely.
And that is a great place for food, a great place for drink. You mentioned Craft House, which is an excellent brewery. It's actually their original location is out in Henderson, but they've got their downtown location now, which is great.
Nice.
There is an amazing Italian restaurant, Esther's Kitchen, that's down there. And what's wonderful about it is the chef, he'd spent years sort of building a name for himself in California, but he's a Las Vegas local. He grew up, went to high school in Vegas, came back, worked on the Strip, and then sort of made this little spot for himself.
Nice.
Some other fun stuff in that area. There's a vegan ice cream truck that is actually often posted out in front of Garage East, called Paradise Creamery, and it's made. The owner of the ice cream company is a former adult entertainer, a stripper.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, and she's got this great persona, and her ice cream is amazing and great for not only for plant-based people, but also people like me who are lactose intolerant.
That's the most Vegas thing I've ever heard. It's just like, I was a stripper, then I opened up this vegan ice cream place. It's fantastic.
Oh, it is. It is definitely very Vegas.
Garage East, I just remember being so good. And I think we were talking to someone at Frankie's. They told us to go there. They're like, you got to go to this place. I think it just opened when we were there. I think it's fairly new. I mean,
It
this is
is.
probably last year. This is right before the pandemic, so like February last
Yeah,
year.
I think it was like 2019 when it opened, I think.
We got there February 2020, right before the pandemic. That's when we were there. And we went to Garage East, and we're like, oh, natural wine is fantastic. And we went in there, and we just, oh, man, the record player, he was kicking on the records. We were just sitting there crushing bottles of natural wine. It was so good. I love that place, man. That was a fantastic place. I wish I remember that dude's name. He was really cool. Great spot. And then here, so as far as the drink to represent the state, I got Smoke Wagon small batch bourbon whiskey, which I guess is some kind of pseudo distillery that's out there. Let's see where that's at. Have you heard of this? Is this something? This is what I say to everyone, like, 'cause I get the.
I have heard of
booze.
it.
All right.
I have heard of it. To my, it's definitely one of our newer distilleries.
So yeah, Nevada H&C, I think is where it's from. Yeah, H&C Distillery. So they look like they're. A lot of these places, what they do is they say they're distilling, but they're not. They purchase already distilled product and blend it there, which is fine. Like, you got to make a business somehow. It's hard to distill stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a little.
We do definitely have some distilleries here in Las Vegas, though, that distill on site.
Tell me some.
One of them is actually the Mob Museum.
Oh.
One of the only museums in the world to make their own liquor.
The Mob Museum makes their own booze. Oh, look at this. The underground.
Distills moonshine.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. Yeah. They have their own.
100% corn whiskey moonshine, and then have a couple of different infusions. So there's a
That's
there's
awesome.
a Jamaica ginger infusion that's sort of influenced by a medicinal liquor that was popular during Prohibition.
Is it like in the basement of the Mob Museum, like a creepy
It is.
speakeasy? That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it is.
I love that. How have I never heard of that? It's because when I'm there, I'm not going. Let's be honest, I'm not going to museums. But this is not. This looks great.
The Mob Museum is worth checking out.
I'm looking at the website right now
There's
underneath.
a fully operational speakeasy bar in the underground in the basement of the building. The building is the original federal courthouse and post office in Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
And
That's
even
really
if you're
cool.
not a museum person, it's definitely worth going to the underground. It's you go through the side door, they ask for a password. It's on their Instagram.
I love that. I love that. That's really cool. I think that's really. I'm looking at the pictures of it too. Like I said, I had the website open. It's a great. The booze room at least looks awesome, and the Mob Museum itself is probably great too.
The Mob Museum is excellent.
Awesome. That's cool. Who else is distilling out there, or any kind of brewery that comes to mind? That's
Las Vegas
fantastic?
Distillery, which is actually located in Henderson.
Wait a minute.
Las Vegas Distillery and Las Vegas Distillery, oh my gosh, they really paved the way for distilleries to open up in Nevada because gosh, I can't remember exactly when they opened. I think it was like 2009 or something, but it was essentially impossible to open a distillery before then. The breweries were allowed, and there's a number of craft breweries that have been around since the 90s.
Liquor laws are strange state to state. That's definitely a common theme.
Oh yeah, and it's all prohibition. I mean,
Yeah.
prohibition is the reason why
Yeah.
liquor laws are so terrible and so confusing.
Yeah, every state has any restaurateur or someone in the industry that I talk to, they're always just like, yeah, the liquor laws here are completely, kneecapping me. But now with COVID, though, I don't know what it was like out there in New Jersey, New York, especially with like really repressive kind of booze rules. They lifted a lot of them. So places that any kind of liquor license they had, they were allowed to do to-go cocktails, delivery cocktails, all this stuff, which is like rare, So and then they're pulling that back now. Of course, can't have that.
Yeah,
but,
and we definitely benefited from the same thing. Liquor, restaurants were allowed to do more to go. What's interesting about Nevada, what does set our liquor laws apart is that we have some of the strictest requirements for production, but we have some of the loosest requirements for purchase.
Interesting.
People who come, and especially come from the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, there are so many people over the years who I've known from New Jersey and New York, and then further up into like Massachusetts and New Hampshire, who are just shocked when I'm like, oh yeah, you can purchase any type of alcohol, any proof at any grocery store, pretty much 24/7.
Yeah.
And they're like, how is that possible? And I'm like,
it's just what we do
just
here.
Normal.
Yeah, some states. I remember the first time I went to some state and there was a separate beer store and liquor store, and they had different times. I was like, this is very confusing. Like, why? Because in New Jersey, at least it's all together. The times are different when you could buy it,
Right.
but at least it's all together. But I forget where I was. I was like, wait a minute, we got to buy vodka over here and beer over here. It's like this is too much. This is too much. In Vegas, like it's everywhere. You get anything you want at 7-Eleven. I think you go to CVS and stock up on everything, and you're good.
I will never forget. I was living in South Carolina for graduate school, and I was flying back home for something. And I had been talking to these two guys that were from New York, who were like sitting across the aisle from me, and were getting off. And they're like, "Oh my God, should we just buy alcohol here in the airport? Like, it's 9 o'clock. Like, we better buy this." And I was like, "Oh no, you guys are fine. Like, you can buy alcohol anytime, day or night." And they're like, "No, I mean hard liquor, not beer." And I'm like, same thing.
Yeah,
is it different? Like, do you guys have different hours for different things?
Yeah, some states are just wacky. You know, some states have those really old prohibition laws that they just never changed. And I don't know what kind of mob is running the rule in some of these states, but definitely something like that is up. I don't know. All right, so we covered some of that. And is Nevada growing any kind of food? Like, is there any kind of, like, you said, you know, the sheep is going on for some of the bass stuff, which is great. But is there any kind of, like, ranches? Is there a lot of, like, ranches in the middle of, like, what's going on in the middle of Nevada with all this empty space?
We grow a lot of alfalfa.
All right. I mean, that's something.
Alfalfa.
I got alfalfa, like sprouts. Yeah. Alfalfa sprouts are great in a sandwich. I'm a fan. I can eat that.
Yeah. Fallon, which is sort of in the Reno-Carson area, they're known for a specific type of cantaloupe. I think they're called Heart of Gold.
Oh.
And so they have like a Heart of Gold festival every year to celebrate their cantaloupes. You know. Hold
on, I'm pulling that up. I love a good tiny festival in a tiny town. That makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Heart of Gold Festival. What town is it again?
Fallon. Fallon.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Heart o' Gold Cantaloupe Fest. Are you going? It's August 28th. You should go.
I am not. I'm not.
How dare
it's a
you?
Little.
How dare you love Nevada and not go?
I literally just drove through Fallon this past weekend, so I think I get a pass.
All right, that's fair. And you're spreading the word about it. That's good. August 27th to 29th. Country Fair. I'm looking at the website. This is amazing. They probably do wacky events and things.
Yeah, and Fallon is great. They have a great little county museum there. I think they're in Churchill County, and yeah, there's actually. I'm trying to think if it's actually in Fallon or not. But there's a distillery up in that area, and I think it is actually located in Fallon. Fry Ranch.
Okay.
They distill. They've got
what's it called?
They've got bourbon and rye, but then they also have they make absinthe. I think they're the only Nevada brewery that has a absinthe label or distillery, I should say.
Nice. Yeah, looking at the cantaloupe fest. So that cantaloupe, have you eaten this cantaloupe? Is it something special, this cantaloupe?
I have to admit I haven't eaten it.
All right, that's okay.
I'm not a big cantaloupe person.
That's all right. A lot of people don't like cantaloupe.
I'm not a big melon person.
Oh, melons are delicious. It's all right. So of course you're not going to go to the melon fest, but the ultimate.
I mean, honestly, I totally would. I'm not going to stop.
Right.
I mean, there has to be other things.
I'm looking right now. Lucky you, the ultimate Van Halen concert tribute experience is playing. So that's cool.
Darn.
Yeah, you're going to miss out.
Too bad.
Maybe next year. It's okay. But I love a lot of these states have tiny little like festivals like this, and like a lot are very silly. Like I think Idaho legit has like a potato fest in one of their towns, and like they do all these. They
have to.
Yeah, I mean they have to, but they do like potato games. There's a guy that dresses up like potatoes. It's very strange, but it's a thing. I love that though. I love a little cantaloupe fest celebrate Fallon. Yeah. Good on you, Fallon.
Yeah.
What are there any
other than that? I don't know what else we grow. I'm gonna be really honest.
No, I mean, look, that's better than nothing. I was gonna say nothing.
It's arid. It's so arid in Nevada. We have this great little and literally little for a farm, but we have this great little like pick your own farm here just outside of Las Vegas called Gilcrease Orchard. And I mean, like I love it. It's like an awesome little thing to do. You can pick pumpkins and apples in the fall. You pick actually, I just got my email from them of what they've got this week, and I think it's cantaloupe, but I don't think it's Heart of Gold.
Oh, if it's not Heart of Gold, then don't get it. But if it's Heart of Gold,
exactly.
You gotta get it.
But yeah, I mean, the amount of land that actually has water in Nevada is very limited.
Yeah, it's gotta be. I would think there's probably a lot of like hydroponic growing or like greenhouse growing or something like that. But
yeah, I mean, there certainly is. I mean, there is certainly produce being produced here in Nevada on a small scale.
Yeah.
But in terms of like, if I think of of a Nevada farmer, the only thing I think of them growing is alfalfa.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, no, that's better than nothing. And sheep, right? We got sheep up in the north.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of sheep and cattle. You cannot ride a rural road in Nevada without having either sheep or cattle trying
just
to
rolling
accost
around.
your car.
Wild. All right, that's nice. It's good to know. So that's the food, that's the drink, Black Rock Desert. So are there any other cool towns out in Nevada? I mean, Fallon seems interesting. That's a cool. Is there any other there's a lot of little towns here. Like I'm just scrolling through, look at the map. We have Duckwater and Lund, all these weird little towns. Is there any that stick out as something that would be cool?
You know, I feel a great pressure because I have museum and historian friends around the state who live in these little towns, and I know that if I shout out some of them and not others,
we don't want to
and they
offend
see
them.
this, they'll be so hurt.
Well, don't do that.
But there are so many great little towns. One that I really love is Caliente, which is essentially just like north of Las Vegas. It is in Lincoln County, and the thing that is in my background picture here is from a state park that's just the next town over from Caliente, Panaca. This is Cathedral Gorge State Park. There's all these clay slot canyons, and it's just it's this crazy, weird, badlands sort of landscape.
All right, I see it.
Yeah, I know with me in front of it, it's like...
No, I see it. No, it's majestic. It's very Nevada. It's definitely very Nevada.
Oh, it's incredibly Nevada. But I love Lincoln County. Another little town there is Pioche. It's one of our old mining towns, and it sort of has a very rough reputation. They spent $1 million on their courthouse, and there was tons of graft.
It's literally called, I literally clicked on it and zoomed in. The first thing, it's called the $1 Million Courthouse.
Yes,
it literally says that on Google. It says $1 Million Courthouse.
Yeah, and for clarity as to why it matters that it was $1 million. I mean, this is in the probably the 1880s that they were building this thing. So I mean, that was a lot of money, a ton of money for them to be.
So they literally called it the $1 Million Courthouse. Pioche, Nevada. We're open with plenty of room to roam. That's what it says. Small, friendly Old West town with a huge backyard.
But I would say there are so many.
Well, that looks like a good little run, like Pioche into Panaca or Panacha. I don't know how you say it. Panaca and right into Caliente. It's all right there. Mm-hmm. That's a nice little run.
Oh yeah.
And then you could go right into Utah over here. No, we're not talking.
You
Utah.
can.
Forget
Yeah.
Utah.
Yeah, you can actually get into Utah going through another one of the state parks in that area, Beaver Dam State Park, which is right on the border, and that's a rough road, but a fun.
The roads do get rough out there. I remember again when we were driving that trek in the north of Nevada. As soon as we got in, I remember we were measuring when the next gas station is because they're few and far between up there, and that's usually not something that you have to concern yourself with. But the guy who was driving was like, "Yeah, so once we get here, we can't mess around with the gas. You got to get gas at the next stop." Nothing you really have to concern yourself with in New Jersey, New York area. There's gas stations everywhere, but that is the.
Oh yeah, there's so many things that there's so many things that I grew up with that was wonderful, like restaurants being open 24/7. That when I lived in other places on the East Coast, I just couldn't adjust to. But there's other things that I sort of feel like I have a leg up, and gas stations is one thing. I'll be driving, maybe taking a friend or someone out to one of the rural state parks, and we'll get to a town. I'm like, oh, I need to get gas. And they're like, you have half a tank. And I'm like, there's not another gas station for 200 miles. I'm not going to take a chance. What's wrong with you?
We got to stock up. No Teslas in Nevada, I'm guessing. It's not going to make it.
So we actually do. We have, we're getting a lot better as far as electric charging stations. It's crazy. One of the little towns that just puts them in, and by just I mean I think before the pandemic, but the last year has been a weird wash. Tonopah, that's another central Nevada town, and another one with a brewery, Tonopah Brewing Company.
Tonopah? How do you spell it?
Tonopah is Tonopah.
There it is. I see it. Tonopah.
Yeah.
Tonopah. Yeah, I mean, it seems like it would be a good state that, a good state to have those all throughout because the gas is hard to come by, and then you got these highway system that's there. So every couple hundred miles you throw it in there, and tell Elon to do a incentive program for everyone to buy a Tesla, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and Tesla's got they've got a factory up in northern Nevada. They've got a big presence in Reno, and Fernley, I think, is the I don't know, but the Reno area.
All right, so they're out there. They're big in Nevada. That's good.
They are, yes.
Nevada.
Yeah, and they just built. I don't even know how to describe it. I haven't seen it, and I really don't. I have to say, I don't understand it, but. Essentially, it's like a people mover, like the Disney people mover, but it's a Tesla version that's underneath our convention center here in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Convention Center. I cannot recall what it's called, and I haven't seen it because it just recently opened. But yeah, Tesla definitely. The Boring Company and Tesla is definitely investing in us here.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good sign. That's where Elon's money goes is generally a good place to be. So yeah, I think that's a good move.
We're happy with it, and it's good. Nevada definitely can use some diversification of its economy, and not just because of our reliance on tourism and gambling. I mean, just in general, like essentially we're like. It's either gambling and tourism, or it's mining,
right,
or it's ranching. Like there's
really not much in between.
Else.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a huge state too. I mean, it takes up a lot of real estate, but I guess it's because it's all desert and mountains. Like I guess it's a lot of unusable space.
It's all desert.
Right.
It's a lot of mountains. We also don't own a lot of our state land. The federal government owns the figure has changed over the years, so it might not be this much, but. When I was growing up, they always said the federal government owned like 85% of the land in Nevada. There's a lot of federally managed land.
Is that because it's like national parks and reservations and stuff?
There's a reason, and the reason is actually not so much because there's a ton of national parks, although there are a few. Lake Mead is actually a national recreation area, and then Great Basin National Park is awesome. I love it. It's one of the least visited parks, but it's great. The real reason that most of our state is federally owned is that when we became a state, we didn't actually have the population to sustain statehood. Like we technically shouldn't have become a state in the 1860s. We became a state during the Civil War because we were like, we'll totally vote for Lincoln. We're super into Lincoln here.
Well, cool, guys, let us in.
Be a state, you'll get 2 more electoral college votes. And
Nevada always sneaking in.
Yeah. And like at the time, mining was literally the only industry in Nevada. And so there was a lot of money that was going to come in from tax revenue, and you get a lot more taxes from a state than you do a territory.
Sure.
So the federal government was all for it, but they were like, there's no one living in
yeah, do something, guys.
99% of your state, there's no one living here, so we need to take control of a lot of that land.
Oh, interesting. So they just kind of took advantage of their own rules. They're like, we'll just run all these large sections of land, not call it part of the state. You'll have enough populace, and we'll be good.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of it's run by the BLM, by the Bureau of Land Management. There is certainly national parks and stuff, but most of it is just federally managed and not much going on. And then we also, we do have especially here in Southern Nevada, I don't know the footprint of military land in the rest of the state, but here in Southern Nevada, huge portions of our open desert is controlled by the military for like air training and tactical training. We do a lot of drone training for our Air Force here in Southern Nevada. So, I mean, they're certainly using some of the land that they have, but it definitely sort of, it kneecaps what you can do.
Sure, and
the government owns most of your land.
Well, that's right. Well, that's because they keep all the aliens there. Because you have Area 51 also. I forgot.
We do have Area 51.
That's right. So obviously, you're sitting on the alien mothership, of course. So they have to own most of the state. Well, that all makes sense now.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. Wasn't there a raid on Area 51 recently? Didn't a bunch of morons go?
It didn't go all that well.
No.
Shocking.
That was a thing, though, right? That did happen.
It was a thing. It did actually happen. Far fewer people came than
sad.
We were worried would come. But it definitely was still. It was a drain on our law enforcement.
Of course, they had to go monitor the internet dopes out in the fields.
Yeah.
Dopes. Just shot them all down. That's rude. Well, they got to storm Area 51, right? That's what it was? Yeah, I remember
storm
that.
Area 51.
Wow, that had to be pre-pandemic, right? That had to be a long time ago. That had to be.
Oh, God.
That couldn't be during COVID.
It had to have been. I don't know.
It had to be. It feels like it was yesterday. I remember hearing about that. That's funny. Oh, man. All right, so we hit a couple cool...
September of 2019.
There you go.
Looked it up. My God.
So yeah, right.
It does seem like just yesterday.
Right? I feel like I haven't thought about it until right now, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh, that feels like I just heard about it last week.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, having a year off, from anything really kind of blurs the memory, I suppose.
Seriously.
Yeah, I was in Las Vegas right before, like a week before the pandemic hit, or they shut everything down right before March, end of February. So it was interesting at Vegas.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was actually in Disney World like the week before everything shut down. And I remember flying back into Las Vegas and it was like, oh God, this is it. Like it's
all over.
Yeah.
I should have just stayed in Las Vegas maybe. That could have been fun. Instead of coming back to New Jersey. All right, so we hit a couple cool towns. We talked about some of the food. We talked about some of the drink. What are we missing? I don't want to hold you up all morning. It's early over there.
It is early. I think as far as the food thing, what does set us apart is like the all-you-can-eat buffets and sort of that mentality, because it's true. Like it is Las Vegas, but it's also the rest of the state.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that something that's throughout the rest of the state? Because I know shrimp, funny, all the buffets, but is that a thing that carries throughout the state? The buffets.
Obviously, if you're talking about like these really tiny towns, they can't sustain a buffet at the quality of a Strip or a Reno buffet, of course. But this is gonna sound stupid, but I was just driving through Tonopah on Sunday, and for lunch we got a pizza buffet, and I feel like that's something that if you're in another state with a town that has like 5,000 people, they're just not, like, their local restaurant doesn't necessarily have a pizza buffet.
Yeah, well, tell me about this pizza. But where?
It was like 1980s Pizza Hut up in this.
What is the name of this place? Old Town Pizza? Is that
Hometown Pizza in Tonopah. And I mean, seriously, it was like being transported back into like a Pizza Hut of my youth with their with their pizza buffets that they used to have.
Did they have the big red
swim team,
the big red water cups?
No, they didn't have the same water cups. But I mean, you got your soda cup. There was the salad bar. There was the pizza. There was the breadsticks. It was amazing. And Nevadans, we live up to the size of our state. I think we like to. I mean, we're no Texas, but we do like to live big.
Yeah, I mean, I could safely say I don't think I've met many Nevadans outside of like dealers, because every time I'm there, I mean, I guess the people I met when I was in the Arts District are like, or more accurately Nevadians. But generally when you're walking around, when you go to Las Vegas, you're dealing with tourists of the Midwest. You could see them a mile away. You know who they are. Everyone there's pretty much a tourist who's walking around, I guess. I would assume that how many people this is subjective, I suppose, but how many people, as being from Nevada, do you guys go to the Strip and hang out on the Strip? You're pretty close. Like, or why would you? Like, I feel like it's probably just overpriced. There's better places to go.
So I don't. Right. It really is sort of hit or miss. It definitely is, I mean, I often, because people ask me this all the time, and I often make the comparison that we're very similar to someone who lives in LA or New York, where there are certain things that I just never, ever do. For sure. There are areas of the Strip that, seriously, I've never stood in front of the Bellagio and looked at the fountains. Right. I'm not saying that no local has, but I haven't. I don't need to do that. I don't need to hear tourists from the Midwest oohing and ahhing. It's not that I don't love the Bellagio. In fact, the Bellagio is this awesome art museum. They've got a gorgeous conservatory.
It's beautiful.
I think that it's not there anymore, but I loved the chef Todd English, and he had olives there at Bellagio forever. Like, I've been to the Bellagio itself many times, but I'm not gonna walk the Strip with my yard margarita and watch the fountains. It's not appealing to me. And I mean, I think it's the same. It's very similar to like New York. There are certain touristy things that you may occasionally do, but there
Sure.
are other touristy things that you are never in a million years going to do. You're never going to like go to Times Square
No.
on a random Saturday.
No.
Like, that's stupid.
I hated
Why
when
are
I
you
was
gonna
going
do
to New York and I had to walk through Times Square to get anywhere. I was like, this is disgusting. I feel dirty being
yeah.
here. It's terrible. But I mean, you know, there are some, I mean, Las Vegas is interesting, right? Because it is full of like touristy Midwestern and the gimmicks and the bits and the floating ships and all the things to see, which is like part of the spectacle, right? The lights and the show. But each of these places does, like you said, like the Lodge has these beautiful museums and like there's really high level, like some of the, probably the greatest production value shows are out there. You know, if you want to go see an amazing show, like the Cirque du Soleil shows and stuff like that, like you can only see them there, you know, if you're into that.
Exactly.
You know, that's a great place to see those. Yeah. So I wonder if there's like, are there other theaters outside of Las Vegas? Like, where you could go see like a production of something, or would they just put them all in Vegas because there's so many theaters being produced like right in the middle there? Like if you want to see a small show, like I'm trying to think if there, I mean there has to be clubs and stuff, but
I mean, so it's interesting. Our sort of our theater and our music scene has sort of ebbed and flowed in Nevada, and you know, I mean, like there's been like when I was in high school, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, there were a number of these like amazing little local venues all over the place. And then they all sort of died. And they died primarily because then the Strip started getting all of these smaller or mid-sized venues. Like
right.
House of Blues in Las Vegas didn't exist when I was in like, you know, like my first year of high school. And then it opens and it's like all of these other little places.
Yeah, that's the place to go.
Yeah,
if you're a band.
But then they've also, like, there is definitely sort of a resurgence of some of those smaller places now because there's a need for it. I mean, there's always going to be a need for different size venues.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and there's a lot more venues now. Like again, every time I go out to Las Vegas, there's a new venue there. Like Brooklyn Bowl's there now, and like there's all kinds of venues there, small and large. And then, you know, if you're a band out there anywhere in Nevada, I'm sure, you know, the goal is to probably play the Strip. It's where all the money's at, I would think. You know, you're gonna make more money playing the lobby bar at you know, New York than you are probably, you know, the local club in Henderson, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So that is, you know, it's good for entertainment in that sense, local entertainment. Not that I know many like local Nevada bands, but I'm sure they're there. You know, I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there's a lot of cover bands, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and there definitely are some great local bands.
Sure.
You know, that is not my expertise, and I'm not as much in the scene as I was when I was a little younger.
You're very well versed on like every aspect that we've covered so far. So please, no apologies necessary.
But I know that there are local bands.
Yeah, of course there are.
I could probably name some local bands from the early 2000s, but I don't know how many.
I'm sure they don't exist anymore. Bands don't last that long. Please.
Exactly. I'm sure they're all still playing under very different names.
Oh yeah, different names, different people.
Configurations.
Yes, different configurations, different people, different problems.
Yes.
Great. Well, I don't want to hold you up. I'll talk to you all day about Nevada, but I mean, we've chatted about the food, chatted about the drinks. You give us some great spots. Is there anything else like people should know that they don't think about Nevada that we haven't covered, or what should people?
You know, I think the last thing, and we definitely alluded to this, but I think the last thing for me is just that we've got a lot of natural beauty in Nevada too. I know the desert isn't for everyone, but you know, we've got like here in Southern Nevada, Valley of Fire has this is a gorgeous state park that has you know, like red sandstone formations, and it's gorgeous. There's so many natural things that I think people miss out on. Even if you're coming to Las Vegas and you're here to gamble and you're here to do certain things, like there's so many natural things to go out and see, and I love that.
I mean, seeing the stars in the desert is a super special thing. Like it's really unlike anything else you've ever seen. So
yes,
you know,
and I mean it's special for me because you sure as hell can't see the stars in Las Vegas anymore.
No,
so.
you're definitely not. But you know, and then you just go out. You know, you go to one of these state parks. You go in the middle of nowhere, and you know, a lot of people I don't think have ever even seen the stars like that without any kind of city lights. But when you see it, it is a crazy, crazy thing because the sky lights up. You know, and you can only see it. Like people I know, they go out to, you know, Joshua Tree or the middle of nowhere in Utah and stuff like that, where there are no like city lights. You know, and you get an Airbnb and you kill those lights, and there's no one around you for miles and miles, and you look up at, you know, complete vast darkness. That's a special thing. It's really cool. And
It is.
I'm sure you can see
for
that in a lot of
sure.
these parks.
Yeah, there's so many places to see that in Nevada, and Great Basin National Park up north from us is just one of the most amazing places to see the Milky Way. There is being out in the desert is such an experience, and if you're going to do it, I always have sort of this like, there's a part of me that knows that the more tourists who come to Nevada, the harder it is for me to enjoy some of our natural things. But then on the other hand, like I know so many people who go to Joshua Tree or go to like Bryce in Utah and complain about the crowds. And I'm like, come to Nevada then. We have literally the same thing.
It's literally in between the two. It's literally in between the two. That's what I'm saying. There's got to be very similar spots that no one knows about. I mean, it has to be. It's a large state
for sure.
between these two big things.
We have areas of Joshua trees, like with way higher density of Joshua trees than anywhere in California. We have areas that look exactly like all the places that people go to in Utah. Exactly is maybe a little dramatic, but if you were looking for a beautiful desert, we've got as much, if not more, than California and Utah and Arizona.
People just like to go to California, I think. I don't know. Like to pay those taxes. So I think that's it. I don't know what else there is to say.
No, it's great. Thank you so much for having me.
Claire, thank you so much. This has been great to talk to you. You've been a great guest. You know everything about Nevada. Thank you for teaching me how to say it right. I think I said it right the whole time. Maybe a few times I slipped.
You did really good.
Thanks. I try.
You really got into it.
I try my best. I'm going to try to keep it. I'm going to try to keep it going. Nevada. Claire, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. If I'm ever out there, we'll meet up. I owe you a beer or something.
I love it. Sounds great.
Booze. Have a good day, Claire. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Who's better than her? Claire White, everybody. Claire White. Applause for Claire White. That's fantastic. She killed it. What a great guest. We need a guest like that for every state. She's fantastic. She knows everything about Nevada. I didn't know it was Nevada. I mean, I feel like I've heard that, but I never really thought of it as Nevada. I thought it was Nevada. Nevada! Whew, all right, well, we hit a lot about Nevada. I don't know what else to say. Oh, we didn't even talk about this. We were just about to get into this, and she came here. So let's talk about... That's so funny. The Vesta Coffee Roasters, by the way, that came up. I was there and drank many, many batches of their coffee. I found that very funny. I wish I had the pictures, man. I don't know why. Yeah, Carson Valley Plaza. I don't know.
Yay!
Oh,
just subscribed. Nevada.
Holler, Nevada. Holler at a subscription. Vesta Coffee Roasters. Yeah, this place is fantastic. The whole arts district down there is pretty banging. I'm not gonna lie. So if you're in Las Vegas Strip Zone, definitely get out to the arts district. So here we go. This is a high rye profile on this. That was a little sluggy slug. High rye profile on it. Smell it. Definitely smells high rye. Ooh, a little sweet from the corn. I don't know how unique it is, but it is definitely high rye, which I like. Mouth feels good, sweet. Definitely has like a corn back in it. I'm not mad at it. Smoke Wagon small batch, pretty good. It says Las Vegas. It's a cool bottle, so I'll take it. What's it say here? Balanced oak nose with hints of fruit and dried apricot. I'll give you that. Sure. Initial sweet notes on the front of the tongue. Well-balanced mouthfeel with spicy notes, including white pepper on the middle and back of the tongue from the younger vintage and high rye mash bill. Good balance of sweet and oak flavors, including hints of caramel. Fruit-forward flavor, rice spices, finishes smooth with no alcohol burn, even 100 proof. That's got a little bit of alcohol burn. Let's relax. It is tasty, though, and I like a high proof. That's good. I'd get it, but I would probably go visit the distillery that's in that museum she was talking about, the Mom Museum. Sounds like fun. That looks cool. Nevada, I don't know what else there is to say here. You know, Nevada. I think that's it. What do we do? Do we do an hour? My setup is all whacked here. It's getting back into it. The studio's in shambles. It's hot down here, sweating. Anyway, Nevada, thanks for the shrimp cocktail. Thanks to the buffets. Thank you for Las Vegas. Thank you for Reno. Thank you for everything in between. Nevada, week 28, Nevada. We're calling it in the bag. Your flag is strange. It's all just blue, and you put a little thing in the corner that says Battle Born, which has to do with the fact that they were born a state during the Civil War. So that's cool, I guess. A little history. Claire White, at Nevada dot or underscore? What was it? At Nevada.Claire on Instagram. Follow her. What a wealth of information she was about Nevada. Nevada. Fuck. She was fantastic. Thank you so much to her for joining. Yeah, I kind of want to go out in the desert and hang out in Nevada now. I want to like plan a trip out there for like a week. You know, hit Vegas 2-3 days like you do, and then get a car and go straight up into the desert, get an Airbnb, and freak my brain out and go check out the stars. All right, let's check out the schedule. Week 28, Nevada. See ya. Week 29, New Hampshire, coming up soon. And then the big bad hometown episode, week 30, New Jersey. Big things planned for New Jersey episode. I'm trying to be, at least. Then we got New Mexico after that, week 31, week 32, New York. Another big episode. What else we got at the ends? North Carolina and North Dakota, the Norths. A lot of the North states. Oh, and then we hit the O's. Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon. Pennsylvania, that'll be a good one. Rhode Island. Is that even a state? Rhode Island and New Hampshire are so tiny and weird. We'll see what goes on there. South Kakalaki. I like barbecue. South Dakota, know nothing about it. Tennessee, Texas, Utah, blah, 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 blah. Then we end with Wyoming. What a weird way to end, Wyoming. Well, New Hampshire's next week. That'll be fun. Week 28, Nevada. In the bag. Thanks for joining, everybody. Nevada, you're a great state. You're wide open. The federal government owns about 80% of you, apparently. And maybe that's the way it should be. Who knows? You got Area 51. You got Las Vegas, the biggest strip and den of debauchery. Some say in the world. Fantastic. Week 28, Nevada, in the bag. Smokehouse bourbon, very cool. Shrimp cocktail everywhere. That's what you do. Thanks for joining, everybody. It's been fun. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You're the best. This will all be on YouTube tomorrow. Bitsandbytes.us. Go there now. Subscribe now. Follow me on Instagram at the Billy Vegas. Follow me on Instagram at Hack Chef. You know, all those things. Highlight reel will be up tomorrow on Instagram, and the show will be live. All the shows are available on YouTube at bitsandbytes.us. It'll bring you right to the playlist on YouTube. I want to say that's it. I think that's it. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I don't remember, so we're just going to have to live with it. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll see you again next week, week 29 with New Hampshire. We're coming for you. I think you're barely a state. I guess we'll find out. See ya.